We get a lot of requests from people on exactly do you set up a device to act as a frame relay switch. Maybe you're setting up a home lab or you want to do some simulations. Is it hard to do? The answer, it is so easy. I'm going to walk you through it right now. So here's how simple it is to set up a router to act as a frame relay switch. Maybe it's an older router, you're not using it for anything else. It's a great application for it. From the global configuration, you'd issue the command in global config frame relay switching, and that turns on the feature of frame relay. And then you go to each of the interfaces. So in this example, we have three interfaces: serial 1, serial 2, and serial 3. And physically, what's connected to those serial interfaces is a cable, or a back-to-back cable, or two cables connected together going to various routers. Let me demonstrate what those routers might be. So for example, coming off this serial interface, maybe that physically connects to a router that's maybe we'll call them R1. And this physical interface, it goes off to a router that we'll call R2. And again, router names are subjective because you just use the hostname command. You can call them whatever you want. So that'll be R3. And maybe that's serial 0/0, serial 0/0, the physical connections, serial 0/0. And on this side, we'd have a DTE type cable. And on the left-hand side, which is already there for us, we'd use a DCE physical cable, and you could verify that with a show controllers command. But so the DC is providing clocking, and the DTE is collecting or receiving the clocking. So what you simply do is do frame relay switching, which we've specified. You do not put an IP address on the physical interface, but make sure you bring them physically up. So you do a no shut, and then you specify a clock rate. That clock rate, because this is a DCE device, is going to determine the speed at which the entire band marches down the street. So if you have a V.35 physical cable on your interface, you could go up to 2 megabits per second. So the rates depend on the various types of cables that you have attached. 64,000, very, very safe. I think even EIA 232 could support that. We specify encapsulation frame relay on each of the interfaces. And then we'd also specify interface type DCE. So the routers by default, they know they're going to be DTE, and the frame relay switch you specify DCE. And then here's how you set up your mappings of the serial interfaces. So the cloud, I'm going to put the cloud in green. So these routers all know that there's this frame relay cloud that they're all connected to. And here's how you set up the mappings. Let's do, as an example, let's do R2. R2 is physically connected to serial 2. And in serial 2's interface on the frame relay switch, which is what we're looking at here on the left, we have a mapping that says frame relay route 201, and that's the local DELC 201. Route that to interface serial 1, which is this guy up here, where it will be called 102. So if we put a little red mark on that, and we simply show a connection like this, that is the DELC. Starts off here as 102 and ends up here as, it starts like, doesn't start there, then get rid of that. It starts down here, if I just read the interface, it starts here as DELC 201 and it ends at serial 1 as DELC 102. Now I'm going to keep my red color out. Check this out, everybody. That's not the only place this shows up. On serial interface 1, it also talks about a DELC called 102, which ends at a serial 2 at 201. So this is referring to the same DELC. This is interface 1 saying this DELC goes from 102 to 201, and this is interface 2 saying that DELC 201 goes to DELC 102. So we're talking about the same DELC there. Let's use a different color for a second DELC. The next DELC we have down here is DELC 203. And let's use pink or something like pink for that. And DELC 203 to 302. So that says I have a DELC 203, which starts here and ends there. So we'll label that 203, ends up here as 302. That same DELC is described down here as DELC 302, starting at interface serial 3, which ends at DELC 203. So that's how, and you simply replicate that and make sure that you have your routes from a frame relay perspective all matched up. So each interface is going to specify what DELCs start here and where they end, and we want to make sure that the ending points for those DELCs are also respectively set up on the other interface. So 201 should be down here, which it is. 301 should be down here, which it is. And that's how you set up a frame relay switch. If you're using Dynamips, it'd be the same process. So if you want to set up a router as a frame relay switch inside of Dynamips, it's the exact same configuration, except because it has logical interfaces and not real physical hardware, you can kick the speed up to 2 megabits per second on the serial and it'll just be happy. So that's it. Thanks for joining me on this overview of how to configure and set up a frame relay switch.